What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we've got some Destiny 2 news to jump in and cover. So this week we got a new game update, and Bungie have added to the patch notes, including some buffs for weapon drop rates. So we'll round up some changes and issues there, but we also get a bunch of new info for Guardian games in 2021, a look at some of the armor, cosmetics, and class-specific playlists for the event. We're also going to talk about a potential secret weapon for Season 13, as well as some interview segments from Bungie. They discuss upcoming expansion sunsetting and more, plus there are a couple of other things to talk about in the video. So guys, as always, I hope you do enjoy this one, but now let's get into it. Firstly this week, Bungie did add to the patch notes, and on top of fixing 12-player PvE activities, adjusting Arbalest, battleground issues and more, DMG added that the team had missed a patch note, and they did deploy a slight increase to playlist-specific weapon drop rates. That includes weapons like Bottom Dollar, but they're planning some additional changes for next season as well. And so if you are hunting any of the weapons that drop randomly in playlists, we should now have a slightly better chance of picking them up. We'll have to see what they do next season as well, but a lot of players noticed that they can't equip the Guardian Games Ghost Shells, including that some of them were replaced with a different Ghost Shell in the inventory, and so Bungie say while they investigate the issue, they're disabling the ability to equip the shell. And so a bit of an odd one right there, but hopefully Bungie will be able to restore them and I'll keep you posted. Before we talk more about Guardian games this year though, of course in the game this week, we got a pretty interesting argument between Osiris, Saladin, and Zavala in the Helm about how to deal with the threat of Kronicle. Definitely some cool dialogue there, so if you want to check it out in full, perhaps if you missed it, that will run out at the end of the video. But here, following the update yesterday, Destiny Newscom on Twitter did share some new data mined stuff for Guardian Games 2021. So initially, these are going to be new armor sets for the event. Seems likely that these will be Eververse based things, although who knows, they could also drop through gameplay. There are also going to be some new ghost shells, and the heir apparent exotic catalyst will become available this event, as well as an exotic sparrow, according to the card right here. We'll be earning medals for each class. And it does say the Zavala's trophy awaits the winning class, so it'll be interesting to see how that event rolls out this year. And I'll link Destiny Newscom's tweets down below. But it looks like we're also going to see some new mechanics for the event this time around. So this was shared by Nazara on Reddit, but it appears that Titans, Hunters, and Warlocks may have their own strike playlist for the event this year. So we can see in that database Guardian Games strikes, Hunters, Warlocks, and Titans. And inside of these playlists, specific classes will band together to take on Vanguard strikes. So it sounds initially like there will be separate playlists essentially, or playlists that load depending on the character you're on, but will be matched with other players of the same class, which is pretty interesting. And obviously this will be linked to the scoring for the event, but then there are going to be different modifiers for strikes as well. So these appear to be based on placement at any one time, and may even serve as a catch-up mechanic, but we can see Guardian Games Bronze, melee and grenade abilities deal more damage and recharge much faster, and then elemental damage is increased from Guardian sources. There's the Guardian Games Silver modifier, melee and grenade abilities recharge faster, and elemental damage is increased from Guardian sources, as well as more power ammo being available. And then Guardian Games Gold, where health, shields, and recovery are increased, plus kinetic weapons will deal more damage. And so that gives us a bit of an idea of how some of the activity stuff could actually work this time around. It'll definitely be interesting to see how those modifiers impact gameplay specifically. Bonuses like kinetic dealing more damage, more abilities, and even more power ammo do sound potentially pretty interesting. And then outside of that, we're waiting to hear from Bungie more info about certain pursuits and rewards and stuff inside of that event, so it'll be interesting, and give us your thoughts about that particular mechanic down below. But something else to touch on here briefly, a couple of folks have discussed the theory that Destiny 2 could be getting an exotic warhammer this season, and it is linked specifically to the Hammer of Proving in game. So initially it was discussed by Paul Tassi of Forbes, and essentially the theory revolves around the fact that we're firstly upgrading the warhammer, and it is a gameplay item that can be triggered specifically when opening chests in the mode, and we get a pretty cool warhammer animation. And so there are some mechanics, even if only visual at the moment, but also Kydal is challenging us, and we have the Proving Ground strike coming up shortly, which suggests there could be some respect to earn there, and it's totally plausible in terms of the story for this season. But outside of the game, some curious dev comments include, on the subject of 3-peaking, Cosmo had previously said that the team is aware of feedback around it, and it's a complicated issue that affects both emotes, swords, and any potential future third-person weapons, which does suggest the possibility of a non-sword based third-person weapon in the future. And also when referring to this, in the State of the Game update, Joe Blackburn had said, players will be unable to pull out any third-person weapon that doesn't have ammo. And considering swords are the only weapon currently in the game that work this way in third person, it again suggests the possibility that a different weapon type could find its way into that slot. So these statements are also further fueling speculation about the possibility of seeing an exotic warhammer as a weapon in the game. And since there's been some discussion about it, I'd be curious to get thoughts from you guys down below. And I'll also link the article from Paul Tassi at Forbes in the description box as well. But something to finish on right here, recently we had 2 interviews with Justin Truman from Bungie, and these took place across the Metro and Eurogamer, discussing exotic weapons, vaulting Forsaken content, live events, and more. So I wanted to discuss some of the interesting commentary right there. And in one of the questions they asked about Presage, and they said, I saw the idea of an abandoned ship floating in space, alien style, originally in the Destiny 1 concept art. Why did you finally decide to use that now? And they said the idea of an abandoned dreadnought or ghost ship sitting out in the reef that you can go and explore with the lights flickering is one that we've had. Like, I've been working on Destiny for a decade. That idea has come back many times over the years, even back in Destiny 1 because it's such a cool idea. And of course the associated concept art, I believe, was actually around in vanilla Destiny 1. So it's cool that some of these ideas are super old. They ask him another question about Forsaken content and ask if that content is likely to be vaulted at some point. And he replies, Forsaken content will be vaulted. I think in the same way we don't want 8 raids, it's the same thing for storylines. We don't want when a new player enters into Destiny to be completing 5 separate storylines, and in some of them, Aldrin's a good guy, and in others, he's a bad guy, and it's not necessarily clear if you're playing them out in order. So of course they want to curate the experience, but he says we're probably not going to do it in a strict chronological order, but rather which one of the destinations or experiences is benefiting the overall health of the game the least. So that's an interesting insight, and especially based on the story stuff around Aldrin, I'm interested to see when exactly that Forsaken content will be vaulted. But there was a question about whether Lost Sector specific exotics will enter the loot pool eventually, and Truman said, I'm not sure about exactly what our plans are for that one, but I expect that any meta-relevant reward we're going to provide will want to eventually have a way for players to be able to acquire it. And so it could be a thing in the future. And also, they said I wanted to chat quickly about live events, which you experimented a bit with in Year 3. For example, getting everyone in the tower and seeing a ship come down like what we had with the Almighty. And they ask if they're looking to do more of them in the future, and Justin says we're definitely not done with these. It's something they were excited about, and we're happy with the outcome of them. And we learned things about how hard they are to do by doing the first 2. They're both hard to implement and difficult to time perfectly. If you make them too long, it can get really boring, where everyone's just sitting around waiting for something to happen. But then if you make them too short, a bunch of people don't get in there in time and maybe miss out. So he describes it as another cool tool in the sandbox. We just need to figure out the right time to use it, and when we want to focus on this instead of something else that we could be doing. But nonetheless, it's an idea they're looking to continue to explore, and there are quite a few other interesting segments inside of those interviews, guys, so once again, both of those will be linked in the description box below. But for today, that's what we have to round up in the video. So as always, I hope you have enjoyed this one, and if you have, a rating down below very much helps us out, but also let us know any of your thoughts on what we've spoken about, the Guardian game stuff, ongoing story in Destiny, or the possibility of an exotic Warhammer finding its way into the game. But if you want to stay up to date with the world of Destiny 2, also be sure to hit that subscribe button, but for now, I hope you all have an awesome day.
After everything the Cabal have done to us, after Gaul, we are warriors. Why aren't we at war?
This is not an easy decision. You know that.
Not easy, but inevitable. Neither side can sustain a real war, but the Cabal are aggressive and proud. If we do not end this, it will escalate beyond our control. The city is at risk.
So strike now. Take out their leader. United, we can handle the rest in a matter of weeks.
You don't think that lowers us to the enemy's level?
Whether it does or not, I doubt Kronicle will go down so easily. But perhaps there is wisdom in thinking like the Cabal. Kronicle has rallied support by embracing old traditions. If Zavala challenges her to ceremonial combat, she must accept, or risk losing that support. Humanity's champion versus the Cabal's. The winner dictates the future.
If we win, there's no guarantee Kynitle's followers will honor the result, even if the Empress herself does.
And if we lose this gamble, when Kynitle has a knife to your throat, will she thank you for your diplomacy?
Every fight is a gamble. The question is whether you're willing to bet on our best guardians.
Any day of the week. Make your preparations. I'll reach out to Kynitle to discuss terms.
Commander.
I appreciate your cooperation.